moving on, speaking of destroying things, the next article is kind of following up with something that I talked about last live stream, which was EVs. And so it's interesting because in that last live stream, I was talking about how Trump has basically destroyed Tesla, at least for now. Will it come back? Probably. But right now, the stock has crashed and people are kind of boycotting Teslas all over the world, essentially. And what does that do? That leads to openings. That leads to opportunities for Chinese EV manufacturers. And this is Chinese automaker Chang'an to start EV sales in 10 European markets this year. So in 2025, they're going to enter around 10 markets. And these are 10 markets that I'm sure Teslas are selling in or were once selling in. And quite frankly, if you've seen some of the EVs coming out of China, you'll understand why Tesla's going to get crushed. Because these EVs are absolutely stunning. And at a price point that's oftentimes lower than a new Tesla. So here it says, we'll read the article a little bit. China's Chang'an Automobile plans to enter 10 markets across Europe this year with local EV models, it said on Friday. The group showcased its electric SUV, the Deepal S07, its first model for the European market, which starts at 45,000 euros at an event in Germany. So 45,000 euros is still a lot of money, but I believe the Tesla models were selling for, 70, 80,000 euros. These cars are coming in at the same or around the same price point as the Teslas for around 45,000 euros. So will they compete? I think they will. And I think that if people are still looking for EVs, which they are, and they don't want to buy a Tesla anymore, which they don't, then Chinese companies really have the opportunity to step in and start selling their cars. So it says, Chang'an said it will launch the SUV Deepal. I'm not sure how exactly. Deepal, not sure. S07 from April in Norway, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands, and then in Berlin in June and other markets later in the year. So this is one example of a Chinese company that's selling their EVs or looking to expand their EVs. Another example is Xiaomi. So if you know anything about Xiaomi, you probably know that they sell cell phones, smartphones. And they have very popular smartphones. One of the largest, I think the third largest smartphone maker in the world now. I think it's Apple and then Samsung and then Xiaomi. I'd have to look that up. But they're one of the largest phone makers in the world now. And they've exported a lot of their phones to pretty much everywhere. But they were really big for a while in India. I don't know if they still have a huge market share there, but they were really big in India. And they did pretty well in Europe, as kind of an alternative to Samsung and Apple. Last year, they expanded into EVs. And if you don't know the company very well, you probably just think they're a cell phone company. In China, they sold a lot of household goods. Many times when you're searching online for products, whether it was Taobao or somewhere else, one of these online platforms, Xiaomi would come up. And they also had, like flag stores around Beijing and in different centers. And they would sell pretty much everything. Home speakers, vacuum cleaners, all kinds of home good products. And they were less known for that, I feel, outside of China. But in China, they were quite big for home appliances. And now they're pushing into EVs. They started last year and they've done really well. So now they are recruiting senior talent for European EV Research Center. So if they are thinking of setting up a research center in Europe, then they will probably start exporting their cars to Europe. And I do have to say that their cars are really nice looking. Like, if I was to buy an EV, it would probably be one of these. Unfortunately, they're a little bit expensive, in my opinion. I think they're retailing around $73,000, which is a lot of money. But here it says a little bit more information about their EVs. Xiaomi EV took 229 days to complete delivery of their first 100,000 units, while the second 100,000 units were delivered in just 119 days. So, has a model that has been on the market for a year, the SU7. So the other one was SO7. This one's the SU7. Still maintains strong demand with a current wait cycle of over 30 weeks. So their first car that came out is this, this SU7, which is it's quite stylish if you ask me. So now they've delivered over 200,000 units, and it's only been a year, which is pretty impressive. So their first kind of cars were launched March 28th, 2024. So yeah, basically a year ago. And this one, the starting price wasn't too bad. It's coming in at just under $30,000, which is not too bad. But they did have another one that's going on the market. I think their next unit, which is going to be around $73,000 if I read that correctly. Yeah, here. Xiaomi to sell EVs globally within the next few years after launching a $73,000 premium car. And so they plan to sell, obviously, in Europe if they're hiring people in Europe. They're probably also going to sell in, I imagine, other parts of Asia, probably the Middle East, and unfortunately not the United States, because the United States doesn't allow for Chinese cars to be sold, essentially. And probably for good reason, because if the Chinese cars actually entered the U.S. market, they'd probably crush them. And they'd probably do really well, because the cars are pretty impressive now. And I think we have a little video here that I wanted to show you. I don't know. I mean, it's strange because when you think of them, they're mostly cell phones, but they look nice. I'd have to do some reviews, but definitely a Chinese EV. Let me know in the comments if you guys would actually buy a Chinese EV, because I've talked about it in the past. I've done some videos on it. I've even been to BYD, their headquarters in Shenzhen, and I even talked about it in the last live stream because they were making some breakthroughs with their charging ability, saying they can charge your battery in 5 minutes and allow you to go 250 miles or something like that, which is quite a lot. But yeah, basically they are building these cars. BYD is building cars, Chang'an, Xiaomi, and there's a whole bunch of other ones. When I did a video about top 5 car brands that were going abroad, most of them were trying to take their EVs abroad. So really interesting to see. And that brings us, I think, to the last article, because we're getting close to an hour. And the last article is, well, I have 2 articles, but I don't want to, one is about Taiwan. I guess we can talk about Taiwan because I mentioned it at the beginning, and so we can continue with that and follow this up as our last topic. If you like that clip from the live stream, consider becoming a member and joining the community where every week I will be doing live streams talking about the latest news from the US, Europe, and China. About 50% of the content will be uploaded to the general audience, but 50% to 60% will remain only for members only. So if you want to see so much more than just these little clips, be sure to become a member, and I hope to see you in the chat during the next live stream.